Thank you for joining us on this podcast. You will be listening in on a conversation between Brandon Poe and Ron Hewitt about Ron's amazing experience with his Mastermind group of accountants that have been meeting for over 20 years. This group started because a few small accounting practitioners in Canada wanted to share their ideas and success to help them run better practices. Ron is chairman of this group, which is called SOMA Consulting Group. He's been generous enough to share his experience by coordinating and participating in a highly successful mastermind group. Brandon Poe is the founder of Poe Group Advisors, a leading-edge practice brokerage firm. He's the author of Accountant's Flight Plan, Best Practices for Today's Firms, and On Your Own, How to Start Your Own CPA Firm. To learn more about Brandon Poe and to see his blog, please visit www.poegroupadvisors.com.
So I'm talking today with Ron Hewitt, who has started or leads and participates in a sort of a mastermind group where he meets with several other accountants throughout different parts of Canada. Ron's been in the tax industry since 1988, where he started with a large national firm for about 4.5 years. Then he started his own practice, which has been in operation for 22 years. His practice focuses on bookkeeping and tax work for small corporations, as well as the personal returns for shareholders. Ron, welcome today. I appreciate you joining me on this podcast.
Well, thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, so let's just get started by, could you tell me a little bit about the group that you're participating and helping to lead, and just tell me a little bit about the group and how it got started?
The group, we're all a bunch of owners of our own independent accounting and tax offices across Canada. We started back in 1993. As you mentioned, I split off on my own to start my own tax business in 92. And around that time, the company that we were working for, there was a lot of disgruntled people Canada-wide within the company. And around the same time as I split off to start my own company, there were several others across Canada that also split off. So off we went. There was nothing planned the first year, but after 1 year in business for myself, I realized that there was a lot of skills required over and above being an accountant, because now all of a sudden we're all small business owners. We're entrepreneurs, and there's an enormous amount that comes along with that, which kind of it wasn't really well thought through initially. So after 1 year, I decided, well, got all these ex-colleagues from across Canada that we're all friends. We all knew each other at the old company, and let's just link up on the outside and start up our own think tank. And so I propositioned some of the other ones across Western Canada at that time. And so the summer of '93, we had our first meeting together, and we were all finding the same struggles starting a business. So we just decided we were going to sit down in a room for what at that time was 2 full days and talk about every inch of how you run a tax business. And it was great.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and it just sounded like it kind of came from a need that you had and that others had, and 21 years later, it's still providing value for everyone, it sounds like.
Oh, definitely. Our first meeting was 8 people. Since then, the group has grown to 22. And, it's once a person comes to one of the meetings, that's it. They're hooked, and they love them, and they come back every year.
Yeah. And just for some background information for people listening, I spoke with your group. I guess it's been going on 2 years now. You guys all came to Hilton Head, South Carolina, and met. And I could tell that there was an interesting closeness with your group. I didn't know all the background at the time, but everyone seemed very comfortable with one another. You guys seem to have a lot of fun in the group, and I thought it was some of the things that you were talking about were incredibly productive and good for everyone to get in and kind of think about the big picture, how you operate your firms. It really is unique. What you're doing is, I don't know of too many groups that don't have aren't paying to be part of a mastermind group. There's a lot of groups out there that are organized by people who, determine the agenda and put them on. I think they're becoming more and more popular because people get the benefits that you've been experiencing.
It's like a lot of things. It seems like a brilliant idea, but it just seems so simple and natural when we started it. We needed to stabilize our businesses. They were not stable when we started this whole thing. They needed a lot of push,
Yeah. Well,
ironically, when we first went outside of Canada for the meetings, the first one was in Palm Springs, and ironically, we did that as a cost-cutting measure. And the boys liked the idea of warm places with lots of golf courses, and so we've kept it up. But the year before the first Palm Springs, we had it in Calgary. That was right during the oil boom, and prices were insane. They were wanting, $350, $400 a night for hotels, and it was just out of control. So we thought, we can do this cheaper in Palm Springs. So we did, and then we thought, well, Palm Springs is good. We're next, and so then it expands to Phoenix and to Hilton Head, and now the boys just wherever they want to go, they go, and it's just a group decision. So
that's great. I mean, it's why not go somewhere fun? If you're going to go off and meet and do something, be somewhere, make a little vacation out of it.
But the guys are disciplined as far as why we're meeting in the first place. I know, every year when we're deciding on a date and location, that's the last item of business every year at the convention is next year's date and location. And Vegas is thrown on the table many times, and the guys know what they're going for these meetings for, because it's always voted down because they say, no, we can't go to Vegas. There's just too many distractions. We want to relax, but we don't want to go. We want to focus on why we're there too. So
yeah.
Well, a bunch of guys,
Yeah, it is. It really is. You can tell you guys are close, and it's just got a different. A lot of the groups I've gone to, it's just got a whole different feel to it. It's just a whole different energy to it, and I think that speaks well to how you formed it and how you've nurtured it along the years.
Well, we're all happy for each other because we all started out financially struggling, and I mean struggling, and so now we're the same guys, the same friends, who now a third of the people in the room are millionaires, and it's just like a big game to us now, and we're just happy to have been friends right from square one, right through the whole process. So,
that's great.
That's part of why we enjoy each other's company so much, is we were always there for each other when we really needed the help the most. And so.
Now, you have an interesting format in your meetings. When I saw you in Hilton Head, you had kind of a brief daily meeting schedule, and then you made a lot of time for having some fun, so people can go off and enjoy the places that you're visiting. And you also go to faraway places, like I mentioned, you went to Hilton Head, and this year, I think you said you were going to Mexico when I talked to you last. So what do you think in terms of the format? What effect do you think that has on the meetings, having kind of a casual but fun format?
Well, it's evolved a bit over time. Like I mentioned initially, it was two full solid days of meetings, and then we go home. And one thing we were shortchanging ourselves of was the off-schedule informal time together. And we've all been friends for many, many years. And what we find is so we've evolved it, instead of 2 full days, to 3 full afternoons, 5 hours each afternoon. So it allows some golfing time in the morning. It allows some social time in the evening. There's more of that off time. And really that off time is it's good from a social aspect, but it's actually good from a business aspect as well. That things come up and you don't you want some time to just talk more casually, and people want to discuss things away from the group, and they have more opportunity to do that as well.
So would you say you get almost as much value being away from the meeting room that you do that when you're in the room?
Well, almost. It's there's a big value in it. There are people after the day of meetings and into the evening they think of something that they hadn't thought about during the day, so it allows them more opportunity to come up with more stuff spontaneously.
Yeah. And you said you have really only one rule for meetings. Could you explain that rule and why that rule is so important?
Well, there's just one simple rule, that if you're going to attend these meetings, everyone in that room has to be 100% open and candid about everything that they do, or else don't come. Because the whole philosophy is just a maximum exchange of knowledge and experiences. And the more everyone puts into the meetings, the more everyone gets out of them. We're not interested in people who just want to take away knowledge and experience from the meetings. Everyone gets a collective benefit, and that's how it happens.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think people being candid is extremely important in these types of meetings for sure. Why do you think it's so helpful for everyone? I mean, it's such a simple idea. You guys meet once a year, and yet I don't think too many accountants participate in groups like this. Of course, your situation was a little special in that everyone worked together and you knew each other before kind of grouping. But what do you think it help? How does this really help? What do you think are the main areas that people get help with in joining this meeting?
Well, there's two main benefits. One is your tax knowledge. The other is your knowledge of running a business, and that's it. Where everyone has goes through the same challenges, the same problems, and they can sit down with a group of other people who are all experiencing the same thing. And one of the advantages is we did not all start at the same time. We've got some more experienced people, and all along the way, like I mentioned, this went from a group of 8 to a group of 22. Well, those other people joined up all along the way, and so we were able to help them at the infancy stage of their business, so we could help avert them from making some of the same mistakes the older guys did.
Oh, I bet that gives everybody. I bet that gives everyone a lot of energy, just helping the younger people kind of coming up. It helps you energize you to go back, work on your business too.
Yeah, you come out of these meetings energized for sure. One common mistake that several of us made off the start was we were undercharging for our services. And so we go to these meetings and everyone tells what they charge for every service they do. And then you realize that there's other people out there that just have more confidence and they were charging more, and you come home pumped and you adjust that, you fix that, and it really fast tracks the success of your business.
Yeah, it's almost it's kind of like any type of group meetings, like Weight Watchers. There's an extra incentive to go back to the meetings and report your successes, and that accountability, I think, could be a big part of what really helps people. It certainly is for Weight Watchers. My wife used to be a Weight Watchers leader, and just having that regular meeting definitely keeps you accountable. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised how many people keep track of the numbers from year to year. First thing we do on the first day of the meetings is lay out your performance as far as your billings, your customer base. And people are pulling notes out from the year before to compare how you are this year compared to the year before. And definitely it's a measurement of your performance. And also you have people that run a similar style business, and you can measure your performance compared to theirs. And, yeah, there's definitely a competitive aspect as well. And
yeah,
it's just for fun. We don't sweat it too hard. But
well, that's interesting. You actually share each other's numbers. I didn't know that. That's well, I guess that goes back to being candid and open.
Everything, all information, all internal numbers are all shared.
How do you decide on your agenda each year?
That's a group input. I spearhead that, and I just canvass with all of the offices for topics for discussion that each office wants brought to the table. And so everyone has full participation as far as the building of the agenda, and if any topics that matter to one office, they're right there in front of the whole group to discuss.
How would you encourage people to start a similar group? And what would you do if you're going to start this from scratch all over again? How would you get it started? What would be the first things you would do?
Well, we were at an advantage, like you mentioned, that we all knew each other beforehand, and ours came out of necessity, out of just the struggle of us getting established and succeeding. But looking back as far as our group, I can't see anything that we would have done differently along the way with our group. But to try to start a group of people that are not familiar with each other, I say it's 100% doable. It takes one person to spearhead it, and one person to proposition that the offices about the concept, and to come and I would say start small just to get the core group of people there that they're going to buy into the idea, and just be very clear that these are just simple, candid, open discussions, and start smaller, and once you've got that core success rolling, then you've got something to present to other offices as well. It only takes 1 year to get the core momentum rolling.
And just to be clear, none of you guys compete in the same marketplace, so that sort of encourages the sharing and the openness, is because you aren't in direct competition with each other. Is that correct?
Well, it started out that way, but it's grown to now. Let's see, 3 of our offices have multiple owners in the same city. One city has 4 owners in one city, and nobody is still wide open, candid. Another has 3. The other one has 2, and they don't care. They just come and they share all their knowledge, and they don't think of themselves as competition at all.
Well, that's interesting, and I guess if you're in a big enough market, it wouldn't matter anyway if everyone's benefiting.
Well, exactly. Like it's a big enough market. Everyone's got their customer base, and they're comfortable within their business, and they just don't think of it as a threat at all.
Okay. And where are you guys going this year? You're meeting in October, I believe, and
we're off to Cozumel this year.
That's great. I just think it's great. I think the whole way you've put this together, and you go to fun places, and I know you have a good time together. I've seen your group together. It's fantastic, and I'm hoping some people listening to this will decide to spearhead their own group. And I really appreciate you participating on this podcast. Is there anything else you'd like to add that might be helpful for people listening?
Well, it's like I said, it's just a matter of just that first year, even if it's a small group. Get it going. You'll find success the first year, and as the meetings get rolling and the organization grows, there's this perception that accountants are secretive about their knowledge and information. It's kind of the opposite. Once we get at the meetings and we're discussing a topic, then it's almost like a competition to see who can add more, and who knows more about the topic, who can contribute more against each other, and the discussion just flows on its own. It's amazing. And once you get someone to these meetings once, they're hooked. We've always encouraged everyone to bring their spouses as well, because this adjustment from employment to business owner is an adjustment for the family as well. And so the spouses come and they can talk with other spouses who also had to make the adjustments within their household, and everyone becomes friends. The whole group, the spouses, and we all enjoy each other's company. We very much look forward to meeting the following year.
Oh, that's great. No, that's a great point about the spouses. It's definitely an adjustment. Being self-employed, it's it's often on your mind. Your business is often on your mind, where that's not always the case when you're working for someone else. So it definitely impacts the whole family. That's great. Well, Ron, thank you again for participating on the podcast. And
you're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
I hope you have a very successful meeting in October in Cozumel.
Oh, we will. It's a nice warm spot. I'm sure we'll have a great set of meetings and a great time.
We'd like to thank you for listening in on this podcast. To learn more about SOMA Consulting Group, Ron can be reached via email at soma@nucleus.com. To learn more about the resources that Poe Group Advisors offers to help build a better practice, please visit the resources page on their website at www.poegroupadvisors.com or email at info@poegroupadvisors.com.